Good morning, YouTube. Bit of a different one here. Had somebody crash into the local pond. I'm not going to go harass them though. They're all staring at me. But funny though. I mean, how do you crash into Milton Pond? Bizarre. But anyway, the subject of this video will be that I believe AI has created the scenario now where we have two new logical fallacies potentially because of AI. Right, and obviously these couldn't exist prior to AI because it's come to my attention now some people don't like it when you use AI to prove them wrong. And obviously in one regard AI isn't infallible. AI can get things wrong. It hallucinates, doesn't it? It will sometimes give you the answers which are incorrect. So if you're a bit of a moron and don't know how to check the sources that AI is referencing, you could supply false information. And in some way this isn't exactly new. It's something that has been happening with like Wikipedia, for example. People will cite Wikipedia sometimes, but you know, Wikipedia is right most of the time, but not all the time. And my argument with Wikipedia has always been that you should be checking the sources that Wikipedia is using. And if something isn't sourced, like for instance, if you research the Mandela effect on Wikipedia, it'll just tell you that you're loopy essentially, and there's no source for that. It just says that. And that's probably not the best example, but it's the first one that comes to my mind because I always think the fact that the Mandela effect is sort of seen as a mental illness on Wikipedia is a bit weird because it's a collective thing. You know, many people have the false memory, so how can it be a mental illness if we're all got the same memory? But that's not the point of my video. The point of the video is obviously the logical fallacies. So I would, just at the minute, I would call these like appeal to AI fallacy and appeal to human fallacy as like the opposite. So, you know, appeal to AI would be the Wikipedia example where you're referencing AI and using that to prove the argument, but it might be wrong. And then opposite, you maybe refute the AI and insist that it has to be a human that has answered the question. I mean, to be honest, I'm somebody where I use both. You know, if I prove somebody wrong, I'll type my response and then I'll evidence what I'm saying with the AI as well. I'll use it to support. Maybe I use the AI to say something related but isn't exactly reflected in what I'm saying, but supports my argument because I'm referencing something that the AI has described. And obviously you get idiots who think that if you're using AI you don't have any original thoughts, which is a bit stupid, to be honest. If I ask the AI, is the United Kingdom in Europe, the continent, not the EU, it will answer me, and I imagine it will answer it correctly. And then is that answer wrong if it says yes, the United Kingdom is in Europe, or is on the continental, I forgot the word, but yeah. But then likewise, we might have the opposite, where people insist that the AI can't be trusted essentially, I suppose, and that you're making a logical fallacy by having to use the AI, which I think is completely moronic, to be honest, especially with AI becoming ever more present, AI becoming ever more useful. I kind of think that just insisting flat out that AI is wrong is also a logical fallacy, and I would call that the appeal to human fallacy. And you might have to forgive the terminology I'm using at the minute, but as far as I'm aware, I don't know if anybody else is discussing this quite yet. But it's quite interesting. So there's definitely two camps. I'm not the only one that I've seen use AI to prove me wrong, prove people wrong. People have tried it with me as well. And then there's maybe the sort of issue in that you can also ask like the AI a leading question. So you can like prompt it to answer the question in the way you desire, I suppose. which is obviously problematic. You know, it would maybe require the opposing person within the debate to be able to analyse what they're saying and realise that you've asked it a leading question. So this is certainly something that's still all maybe up in the air, something we all need to discuss. I mean, I'm not a logician. I do enjoy learning about logic and, you know, trying to apply it at every opportunity. Morning, mate. But yeah, by no means am I a sort of authority, although, you know, and could argue that's still like an appeal to authority, that, you know, you don't have to be an authority as such to be able to describe something. But yeah, that's sort of what I've got to say on the subject at the minute. I haven't been able to maybe conceptualize this quite as much as I wanted, but it's definitely something I'm noticing. Like last night we were in a sort of a debate, I suppose. It was quite entertaining, where they were discussing, is AI art real art? You know? And then in the debate we sort of got to discussing film directors, because the film director doesn't really have hands-on. You know, he's like the ringleader of the circus that is inventing itself, as Francis Ford Coppola described. And very often the director doesn't make things himself. I mean, Stanley Kubrick did, as far as I'm aware, he made lenses, and he made beaded curtains made out of pearls, I think, for Space 2001. So he did make things. So you'd have to say Stanley Kubrick is an artist, but then are other directors artists? You know, I mean, I would just say yes, they're all artists. They're in charge of the whole creative team. They hired the creative team. You know, without their direction, the actors don't know what they're doing. You know, the actors might have different interpretations of what's happening in the scene, but the director is the one that directs it all in one direction, because he's the director. I mean, I know I'm saying the word director a lot here, but it's kind of why he's called a director. But then that still applies to AI then. So is AI art real art? And I think in the debate, the sort of general consensus of the chat and the people on the live stream was that it is art, but it is less valuable than human art. Human art will always be worth more. However, we also get to the Theseus's ship, or the ship of Theseus scenario, where if the ship of Theseus is replaced one by one plank, one by one, each piece of wood, and then it is eventually completely altered, is it still the ship of Theseus? So likewise, if I feed art into the AI and it alters it, and then I use that, is that still my art? Or if I use AI to, like, say at the minute I'm using it to help structure a story and getting it to just draft parts of the story for me, and then I alter it, is it the AI's story, or is it my story, because I'm the one that's prompting it? These are quite interesting philosophical questions, I think, that we have at the minute. And I don't really have an answer. I mean, we'll broadly say that yes, AI art is art, you know, and I would say that these two logical fallacies do exist. You can't just dismiss something because it was AI, you know. Again, with any sort of logical fallacy, it's not what the source of the information is a lot of time, it's what's being discussed, and is there evidence to support that argument. And likewise, you know, a human just can't always be right. You know, if I say that Great Britain is in Asia, that's wrong. You know what I mean? And if AI said it was in Europe, then the AI would be right. And it's not a logical fallacy to say that the AI is wrong just because it's AI. You know? So yeah, I find these very interesting questions. Maybe I'll make another video on this one day. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one. Toodaloo.